Mr. Secretary, thank you for speaking with us for a few minutes. We appreciate it. Talking to people here already, there's big intrigue, concern, worry about what the president's up to with Greenland. That's what's going on here. Back home, 7 in 10 Americans are saying, we don't want this. We don't want him to spend money on this. We don't want military action. So give us a sense, based on your understanding of what the president's up to, why does the United States need Greenland?
It's national security. It is predominantly about national security. If you just look at it strategically, where it is on a map, and the increasing activity in the Nordic from the world's major powers in the Arctic, this is the president thinking long-term about national security. People were very concerned about what was going on in the Middle East early on as well. It led to peace. It led to a positive outcome. I think the same thing will happen here.
What, though, beyond national security, is the potential, let's say, American bounty out of Greenland? The opportunity to extract various rare earth minerals, oil. Have you assessed that yet?
Yeah, of course there's resources there, but it's a remote area. This is not about resource capture at all. This is about national security. And of course, anything that can be done for economic development for the local Greenlanders, of course, that's a positive too. But the issue is national security.
So when you say no plans for extraction, that is not part of what the president's up to here. Looking for oil, looking for, iron and uranium and all these other things that may be underground.
No, of course there's mineral resources there, but development of mineral resources there would be about economic development for Greenland and Greenlanders. It would not be meaningful for the United States. This is all about national security.
I know the other big topic you've been focused on, especially in recent weeks, is Venezuela and the big push by the administration to get the oil industry there redeveloped and pumping again. Do you have any sense yet of when we'll see new U.S. investments in Venezuela by someone other than Chevron?
Oh, I would suspect later this year. That won't be too far in the distant future. But, tons of companies are interested. A lot of companies will go down there and evaluate it. We'll probably set up a data room in cooperation with PDVSA and the government of Venezuela in Houston for everyone to look and evaluate. But the interest has been overwhelming. You take a country with enormous resources, but that's lacked rule of law, that's had crime, criminality, corruption. And if you can stabilize the situation on the ground, it's a ripe area for American investment. But the move in Venezuela is also dominantly about national security. This is a country in our hemisphere that harbored the Hezbollah Western Hemisphere with Iran, that had Russia, that had Cuban mercenaries in there to protect their leader, that was propping up the Cuban dictatorship, selling the oil on the cheap to China. This is also a national security move, but in the case of Venezuela, it will have meaningfully positive energy implications for Americans by lowering energy price across the board.
So you anticipate later this year some other American entity starts preparing to drill, either in the western or eastern parts of that country?
Yeah, there's a lot of low-hanging fruit from existing fields where American producers can go in and get a lot more oil just out of existing wells. Producer companies, but a lot of low-hanging fruit. You don't need to drill wells to get a lot more oil out of Venezuela than is currently being produced.
Is ExxonMobil still out of the picture based on what they said and based on what the president said?
ExxonMobil, I think, made comments in not a great context. They actually have a group that's studying resource in Venezuela. They're interested in that as well. But that's a large company that just moves at a lower time scale. They're not going to jump right back in. But is Venezuela interested? Is Exxon interested in Venezuela? Absolutely.
There are a bunch of barriers, obviously, to entry. You mentioned this. One of them being the need to lift sanctions on various elements of Venezuelan society. Do you have any sense of when that's supposed to happen? I know it was supposed to happen allegedly last week. It didn't happen. How soon might it happen?
Very soon. We have a process in the United States through the State Department, OFAC, that just makes sure we're following the rules and regulations, we're consistent across businesses and all that. So OFAC has been working 7 days a week to issue licenses to allow more economic activity in Venezuela. Again, which in the short term benefits Venezuela and Venezuelans, but huge benefits to the American people. Again, the reduction of criminality, the reduction of drug running, the reduction of guns, and ultimately more energy means lower energy prices.
And we know, you mentioned the concerns about safety. The President, the Secretary of State say no U.S. troops on the ground. Have there been discussions about possibly working with private defense contractors to provide those oil companies the protection they're looking for?
No dialogues in that right now. Look, we're 2 or 3 weeks in right now. I've got to congratulate the president for this 25-year spiral down in Venezuela, and with American troops on the ground for only a few hours to arrest highly wanted people, and now to have no troops on the ground, but already huge leverage to drive Venezuela in the right direction without troops, without bullets.
Do you have any sense of what the president's planning to say when he's here on Wednesday? I know this is supposed to be broadly an economic focus speech and on the buzzword affordability, but have you gotten any sense of what we're going to hear from him?
Yeah, what you're going to hear from the president is his broader agenda, what he got elected on, which is prosperity at home and peace abroad, and they go together. You saw his early focus on the Middle East. That was to drive peace, to reduce war and conflicts there, but also to massively grow commerce there. That's one of the other reasons oil prices are lower today. We've reduced some of the tensions in the Middle East. There's huge Middle Eastern capital flowing in to build factories and data centers in the United States, grow American jobs and opportunity, and take conflict and guns and bullets out of the main dialogue of the Middle East. Now it's about investment, business development, and commerce, doing the same thing in Venezuela. And of course, the president's goal is to do the same thing all around.
The mood here, as I mentioned at the top, is a bit unsettled. A lot of concern about long-term planning for businesses given the geopolitical instability, what happened in Venezuela, what may happen with Greenland. You're going to meet with business executives, with your counterparts from around the world. What do you say to them if they're like, gosh, what are you guys up to? How can I plan if you keep extracting leaders from one country and trying to take over an island the next day? What is it that I should be planning for?
Well, actually, I've had tremendous inbound calls of saying thank you after 25 years for raising the prospect of reducing the crime out of Venezuela. Think of the Caribbean neighbors that are thrilled about reducing this criminality in that part of the hemisphere. That's a massive positive for business investment in the Western Hemisphere, for U.S. businesses in Venezuela. We're very early on in Greenland. The president sees a long-term national security challenge. He's a creative negotiator and uses all sorts of tools and leverage. It's too early to speak on that one. As he said, months ago, they'd say, what is he doing in the Middle East? Now people say, I see what he's doing in the Middle East. He's bringing peace and prosperity abroad and at home in the United States.
All right. What else are you focused on or hoping to get out of this week?
One of my key goals is, for over years, I've seen people out at Davos talk about climate alarmism. No, we can't grow energy production in the world. No focus on people's affordability challenges. No focus on the 7 billion people that want to live like you and I. The dialogues I've already had today, people are sort of waking up that, yeah, climate change is there, but it's just not near the world's greatest challenge. And better energizing our world, growing prosperity, lowering affordability challenges, and expanding job opportunities, those are the big challenges in the world today, and they all revolve around a significant increase in the availability of energy and a lowering of the cost of energy. We want to change that dialogue, bring some common sense back to Davos.